Welcome, chaps and chapasses. My name is Dr. Craig, and I am the host of the show, The Migraine Whisperer, where we bring you hands-on solutions to debilitating health problems. And today I'm super excited to be talking about migraine auras and what is it and can it be relieved. And I have two fabulous guests on that I'm going to introduce to you shortly. So stay with us right to the end. You're going to hear about their experience with auras, what they've done to relieve them, and it may well inspire you with some ideas and, more importantly, add some value to you and your family so that you can do what you love for longer. Okay, so with no further ado, we're going to dive straight in. Welcome to the show, and if you just come in, do put a comment in the chat. It's always good to hear from you. Like, tell us what you might have done to relieve migraines. And that in turn may well inspire other people. Okay, I'm having trouble spelling here. Right, so yeah, just throw a comment in there. It'd be great to hear from you. Right, now, the first part of the show, the 4 phases of a migraine. So to understand what a migraine is, how it fits into a person's experience, whether it's yourself, your loved ones, your work colleagues, friends or family, or maybe your children even. It's handy to understand the idea behind the 4 phases of a migraine. Now, the word migraine historically comes from the Greek hemicranial. So that somehow has been changed to be migraine, but hemicranial meant half of the brain, so half of the head. So that's where the word literally comes from, migraine. And one aspect of some types of migraines, as you've seen, or as you may have seen on my other shows, that everyone experiences migraines in very different ways, in my experience in my office, okay? And over the last 20 years, we've seen hundreds of people that have come to see us with migraines, okay? But there is a definition in, there's a medical definition, or there's a definition that's been put together, the 4 phases. Now, first, before I get into that, we're going to talk about the disclaimer. Okay, so obviously I am a health practitioner, but I'm not your health practitioner. Someone's health is very specific to themselves. Until you've done an exam in my office, we don't have a patient-doctor relationship. So this information is for entertainment and education only. Okay. Now, there is a disclaimer there, but I can give it to you in 10 seconds. Here it is. And we don't want that happening to anyone. And the other aspect of it is we have got there's also a disclaimer for testimonials. On my show, you hear a lot of testimonials from individuals. That is their own experience, okay? But what they've done, may not be right for yourself, okay? So you do need to check with your own chiropractor before diving into this stuff. Okay, the 4 phases of a migraine. So a migraine typically starts... Okay, that's kind of small. So it typically starts 3 hours to several days, and that's the prodromal phase. I'm going to talk about the kind of signs and health challenges you get there. So the next phase can be the aura. Now, aura doesn't exist with all migraines, and indeed, a person that gets lots of migraines may not always get an aura with their migraines. And some people, they always get an aura with their migraines. There's the headache phase lasting from 4 hours to 72 hours, or as we'll hear in a minute, maybe just like an hour or 45 minutes. And then postdromal, which they call the migraine hangover phase. Okay, a little bit bigger so you can see. I'm going to get myself out of the way. So prodromal, this is where you have trouble concentrating, difficulty speaking and reading, trouble sleeping, nausea, fatigue, sensitivity to light and sound, food cravings, maybe increased urination and muscle stiffness. Once again, everyone experiences these differently. So you may have 1 or 2 of these symptoms. You may have all of them. You may have none of them. Okay, and then the aura. See, and I'm going to leave to the ladies to explain how they experience their aura, but you can come back here and pause and check it out for yourself. The headache doesn't need a ton of explanation. Sensitivity of light, noise, and odors. Nausea, vomiting, stomach upsets, and abdominal pain. That is one of the things that distinguishes migraines from just a regular headache, as well as the exercise. So doing exercise can make migraines worse. which is a distinguishing factor compared to headaches, speech changes, dizziness, and blurred vision. Okay, and I'm being unable to concentrate post-stromal, feeling depressed, fatigue. What you didn't see, actually, what I didn't mention, the prodromal phase. That's, you can't quite see on the diagram there, but that is when you have pro headaches, so you get headaches a little bit beforehand. But you also that's what's called the premonitionary phase. So it's the phase where you're actually can work out whether, a lot of people say, oh, I can know when a storm's coming, or I know when my time of the month's coming, or so you get a sense of what's happening as far as pressure changes. We talked about stressors and how these so-called triggers really are more like stressors. So what this is the approaching stress, or a buildup of the stress, which for that particular person starts to give them signs that something's going to happen. Okay, right. Okay, now the next, so that are the 4 phases of the migraine. That gives you a bit of an idea of where an aura sits in that. But instead of me talking on, what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in my fabulous guests. I'm really excited. And they're just going to tell us a little bit about their experience. And I'll get my, all right, there we go. Here we go. And here's Carrie. And here's my mum. Mum, you need to rotate the phone. Yeah, I didn't say one of the guests is my mum. Hey, can you, that's it. Yeah, that's better. Okay, that will do. There we go. Okie dokie. I mean, I think you ladies, you can both hear me fine, can't you still?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. I've kind of lost my light. Right. Okay, and so I'll just hand it over to you then, Kerry. So obviously, if you could tell us a little bit about when your migraine started, the experience, how it was, and in particular, obviously, the theme of this show is aura. So talk a little bit about that. That'd be fantastic.
So I didn't start getting migraines in probably till mid-20s, late 20s.
Right.
So I didn't even, realize at the beginning of having the migraines that, I just was, oh, well, it's just really bad headaches. And it wasn't until another person, a friend of mine who had migraines themselves, was telling me her symptoms. And then I was just like, oh, yes, that's everything. And, for me, I would know when one is coming. And it would be just everything, the pressure in my head would be just very intense. And so I'd feel that probably about 6 to 8 hours before the actual migraine would show. And then when the migraine would happen, is that in the first probably 2 hours of that, it would be the auras for me would be very intense, in that I would have very bright lights would hurt my eyes, but also is that I would have almost like shooting stars when I would be looking out and seeing that. Also is that it was just very light sensitive, and actually my ears, I would get ringing in my ears a lot at that point too. So I'd have a couple of different
Symptoms, yeah.
symptoms. Thank you. And so
Okay.
that's where is that they would go on for probably about an hour to maybe 3 hours. Like it'd be a long enough time that I just would really have to relax. And I would try to sleep, because at that point it would be, I wasn't productive at all.
Right.
And so at the height of my migraines, it was, I wasn't taking anything off the shelf because it wasn't doing anything. And
Right.
so I wasn't really having any relief, and they would come at the height of them. I'd be about, I'd say 3 to 4 months.
Right.
And so
And
it
they last how
actually,
long? Sorry, Kerry. How long did you say they'd last when you had one? The whole
um,
process.
the whole process would probably be a day and a half. And that's where is that going into that post migraine, like, because there'd be times where I couldn't go to work. And so having that post migraine
Yeah.
is that when you finally do go back to work, you're still foggy. And so that's where is that when you're at work, that's not the best situation to be in.
Yeah.
And so when the height of my migraines, it was just, I need relief, and how do I get it? Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Did every migraine have an aura for you?
I would say about 80%.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah. And was there anything that you tried, like the dark rooms, or we heard someone that used to use ice and stuff like that? Is there anything you tried that could that was like a home remedy that would cut things short?
So the one thing that one of my friends actually told me about was the pressure point in between your thumb and your first finger.
Right.
And so the only problem is that, like, you would hold that pressure point, and as soon as you relieve that pressure point, it just came back tenfold. So it
All
was
right.
almost, because it did relieve it a little bit, but you literally had to hold it. So it wasn't something that I was doing very often. But then I found putting on wraps around my hands was holding that in position. But other than that, there wasn't anything that I was doing. No.
Oh, but sorry, you said you could wrap your hands and that would
So I
help?
was putting like a wrap around
Oh,
here
around that pressure
so
point.
that it would hold that pressure point.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, what you mentioned there is interesting. I've heard about it before, and that's rebound migraines. Now, so sometimes when you actually try and do something to alleviate it, actually can rebound a lot more. And it sounds like that might be something that was happening with you with the pressure point.
That's exactly it. Is that it was, you'd have the migraine, and then you would put that pressure point on, and it would relieve it in the intensity of that migraine. But that as soon as you took that pressure
Took it
point
off.
off,
Yeah, yeah.
it was almost, I shouldn't have done anything, because it was so much more intense. So that's where is that some more times is that if I couldn't just find that dark, quiet, non-sensory space,
Right.
um,
Yeah.
it just didn't work. Yeah.
Right. And then, Mum, fun. Can I ask? So, just across to you now. So, for yourself, how did you? What phase of life did your migraine start? And I remember being a kid and you working on the sewing machine under the stairs, and I can always remember you coming out, and I'm not sure if that triggered it, but you seemed to come out and was being in a lot of pain and have to go lie down and take some time out because you don't know what's going on. Okay, right. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll pass it over to Kerry. Kerry, what I'll do, I'll take me and Mum off stage and maybe we can get it fixed. But if you tell us a little bit of what you did, well, what has worked for you, which, obviously you've worked with me. So I'll just take us off stage.
Sure. So it wasn't actually until we met and you had come to my place of work at the time to introduce chiropractic care to a group of myself and colleagues. And you said one of the things was migraines and headaches that you can
Right,
relieve. And that was huge. Like it was like a light bulb went off. And I said, I need to try. And because at that point, I didn't have any relief. So it was, let's try this because it can't harm, right? And I'm not saying it was instant, but it really did. Um, Within, I would say, months, it was the intensity of the migraine would go down.
right. So you
Um,
start off at, did you say two
we
or three
started
a
off
month? So one,
three. We started off 3 times for a
no,
month.
no, the migraines.
Oh, the migraines. Oh, yeah, three a month, 3 to 4
Yeah.
month.
So you
Yes.
have basically one a week then, yeah? And
Yeah.
that would last for a day and a half. So that is a
Yes.
massive part of, especially
It
if it
was.
happens in the middle of the
It was my
working day.
life. It was my
Yeah.
life. Yeah.
So yeah, so then obviously I remember coming to your workplace vividly, actually, and doing a presentation for the bank. There was a lot of fun, and your friend was a scream when you see her again. But and then you came along to the office, and it took 3 or 4 months. So how long until you thought, hold on, something's changed?
Well, that's, and the thing is that I would say, like, it was almost within a month of
Right?
care, because we were doing the 3 visits a week at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
It was, at first it was the intensity of the
Right.
migraine. The intensity of the migraine would probably, it slowed down. Like if it was at 100% right off the bat, it was 75%. It was
Yeah.
50%. It was like it started to be less of intense. That's all.
Less intense. Right.
And so that's where is that it was still having them that many times, but it was less intense. And then it
Right.
was probably within 3 to 4 months of our care that I was, wait, I haven't had a migraine this week. You know what I mean? And it was, and you had to think about it and go, no, I haven't. And so then it would, oh, well, I haven't had one for the second week. Haven't one had the third week. And so that's where is that it was almost me having to look back at a calendar and say, oh, well, September, I didn't have one.
Right.
And it wouldn't always be like I didn't have them again. No, but the intensity absolutely was cut in half, I would say,
Right.
on a normal basis going forward. And the amount of times would cut down.
So you've been under care for some time now. So how
Mhm.
often do you get migraines now, as far as you can recall? And or when do you remember where the aura has gone? Or do you still occasionally?
So I still have the auras. If I when I have a migraine, I still have them. They really didn't, go away. It's just, I guess if I don't have a migraine, I don't have the
Right.
auras.
So it's
But
very much
I
linked.
think
Yeah.
it's whoops, where's my fingers? It's that together, right?
Yeah.
But is that, here and there I get a headache. I am that weather person that I know when the pressure is changing. But is to actually say a migraine, I would probably like it's eight, 9 months even for me, like that I
Yeah.
haven't had one.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So
And
you're on
like,
from one a week to
yeah,
9 months without one, and then when you have one, is it when you do get
it's
them now? Are they as
they're
intense?
not as intense. They're about
Right.
50%. So like I don't have to be that
Double whammy.
sensory room of black and all that stuff. I still get the auras for it's about an hour or so now. It's not the 3 hours that could be
Oh
up
wow.
to. So I
Right.
think those are less intense.
Mhm.
But the whole experience now
Right.
is less intense. And so for me, um, it it's I have a life back, right?
Night and
Like
day, eh? Night and day.
it is night and day. And
Cool.
I I fully believe that it is the care that you've given me over the years. Absolutely.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Right, I'll see if my mum has got a soundbite. If we got it. Right, here we go. Boop. Hey, mum, can we hear you? Or you? Hey, mum, you got any sound?
No.
No, I don't think she can hear us either. Right. Okay. So I'll just nick that one off. Right. Okay. Right, Kerry, if you could just hang around just until the end there, and mum, if you can hear, I'll catch you next week, or I'll speak to you after the show. We'll have a chat anyway. Although actually it's late because mum's actually in England, so it's almost 11 o'clock. So she will be going to bed. So I'll speak to you in the morning, mum. All right. Okay, Kerry. If you could just, are you okay just to hang in the back room there just while I finish the last little piece of the presentation, and then I'll bring you on the end. If anything pops into your head you'd like to share, that'd be awesome. And
Perfect.
if anything pops into my head, I'll ask you. All right. Okay, folks. So that was Kerry. I'm delighted to have her here, and delighted to have my mum here as well. And she will come back and tell you her experience another time. Right. Okay, here we are. So can an aura be relieved? So there you go. You've heard firsthand from Kerry. She has had really good results relieving aura, but it wasn't until really she tried the chiropractic care. I'm going to blow that up there like that. Okay. And now, why is it that chiropractic care can influence the spine so much? Well, if you go back to my the last show, in fact, I'll give a little explanation. I talk about the lazy river. So there's a lazy river analogy, which gives you a very good idea of how chiropractic can improve, or that's one theory of how chiropractic care improves migraines and aura in particular. And that makes a lot of sense to me. The lazy river being the CSF flow around the brain, and the logjam being the interference in the spine, which can impede motion of CSF up around the brain. So that's one analogy. And the other analogy you see in the previous show 3, I think it was, is the basketball court. Okay, so check those out in the previous shows. They're just very short shows. I do want to make sure I honor your time today. I like to keep the show between 30 minutes to 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, so this is the nerve system. This is the nerve map, okay? So the top of the spine, as you remember me mentioning to you before, if you've seen my shows, and if you haven't, the top of the spine, C1, the top bone, is actually a ring bone. And if I don't actually have one here, do I? Nope, don't have a spine here either. So the C1 is a ring bone. So unlike the rest of the bones, which are blocks, C1 is... C1 is, instead of being a block, C1 is actually a ring, okay, and it's just underneath the back of the skull. Now, previously I showed you how to find it. A little reminder of that is behind your ears, put your hands on the bony processes, slide down, you feel some muscles. If you slide up and down horizontally, up and down that muscle line, you'll get to a groove either side. And if you press hard into one of those grooves, you can feel your other finger move. And when you get that, you'll know, because there's no mistaking it, okay? And what you're doing is you're pressing on one side of the ring bone and it's pushing the other finger, okay? Because that bone is very mobile, so you have all this beautiful motion. But when that is out of balance, it can put pressure on both the nerves, which feed back into the brain, and and I believe that one of the theories, and I'm a believer in this theory, is that it puts pressure on the CSF flow as well, which can result, which would make sense that can result in migraines. Okay, and right, migraines, and you can't see it, but it's migraines and teenagers. Okay, so next week's show, we're doing migraines and teenagers. So I'm going to get my mum on for that. Just kidding. Well, migraines and teenagers. We get next week. We've got 3 teenagers, actually, and one older lady who had her migraines from 7, who was actually on last week's show. But she's got some extra stuff that she wanted to add, and that's an ideal time. Okay, guys. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this show. It's going to be a little bit shorter today. Mum, have you got your sound back? If you have, give us a thumbs up. No, I don't think so. Okay, Mum, I'll speak to you in a moment. Right. Okay, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I look forward to seeing you next week at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, where we'll be doing migraines and children, migraines and teenagers in particular. Until then, have a great week. Keep doing what you love, and for those of you having trouble doing what you love, get yourself into to see a chiropractor. Oh, and one last thing just before you go, anyone that's living in the Ottawa area, if you want to come around to see me for a nice cup of tea, and I do a nice cup of tea because I'm British, but come around for a nice cup of tea and I will give you a free 15-minute consultation. You come in and find out if you like what we're doing here, and if you feel it is a good fit for you. We look forward to seeing you in the office. Okay, guys. Until next week, have a great time. Dr. Craig, over and out.